Hello, this is Jerry Cuomo, and today I want to talk to you about IBM's strategy for connectivity and integration. And specifically, I'm going to talk to you about the engaging enterprise, because that's really a core part of our strategy. There's three aspects to this strategy: extend, transact, and optimize. Extending is about how mobile, cloud, social, and big data come together to create new opportunities for customers. And that's the first really big part of our strategy, extending through these technologies. Transact. It's about engaging interactions generated from mobile, cloud, social, and big data, pretty much, that are going to drive new transactions. And folks, we're talking about a lot of new transactions. And optimization. And this is about how, to date, SOA has been about savings, almost about hygiene, about how to reuse and make things better. But we're looking about how to use real-time insights. And that's going to shift the focus from saving to creating new businesses and new business opportunities. And we'll be looking at that too. All right, before we start, I want to kind of go into some projections into the future, perhaps not too far in the future, but if you think about when it was 1995, 1996, 1997, and people were pondering the web, well, they probably wouldn't have imagined something like Amazon.com and shopping experience you get on Amazon.com today. And Amazon really was able to use the web as a very innovative channel to customers. So as we stand today with extending our enterprises out with mobile, social, big data, we're probably, we want to imagine what it could be like as we go forward, as these things come together. So I put these illustrations together to give you an idea. So the first one is a retail example. So when you come into a retail outfit, and you see here in that picture, a person enters a store, the first thing that happens perhaps is they check in using their mobile phone to the retail's Facebook website. And on that, an event, a message is sent to the enterprise. And part of that message perhaps is your identity, GPS location, so that you can track what store it is. And that message and that event is actually sent off to the enterprise. And maybe right at that point, maybe even before you even cross the threshold of the store, this is happening instantaneously, some analytics is done using that information. For example, it might take your past purchase history, and it might also look at other people who are either checked into the store or your friends in Facebook who are also friends with the store, and do some analytics based on their past purchases and derive a just-in-time business promotion for you. All right, so as you can see in this example, how social, cloud, mobile, and big data all come together to create this new engaging experience for retailers. I really like this one here. This is about an insurance example, and it's in the introduction of microinsurance. And I particularly like this example because the innovator isn't necessarily a big company. The innovator behind this application is an independent software vendor who's created an application. And the application is kind of interesting. First of all, it doesn't necessarily run on a phone. It runs in a car. And cars are like mobile devices these days. Well, in this case, what happens, it knows that it's my car, it's registered to me, Jerry, and it knows that it's Monday morning and I drive to work a certain way every Monday morning. So for example, it can track my route to work. It could also look at my friends, maybe in a social network, and look at how they travel to work. It can also start to use this information with weather information, other safety records, to start to use me and my social group to calculate, perhaps even as my car is starting, a risk profile. And that risk profile could then be taken and auctioned off to a set of insurance companies using their APIs. And a company will probably agree to take my insurance for that trip. So this is trip insurance. And what happens here is at the end of the month, instead of getting a bill from an insurance company like Geico, I'm going to get a bill from this third-party ISV with all of my trips. and aggregating all my insurance. And the idea there is that the insurance is going to be priced just right, kind of priced per sip, per trip. For the cases where I'm traveling a lot, my insurance might be a little higher that month. And for the months I don't travel, for folks like my mom who only take that car out only a few times a week, they will not be paying very much insurance. They'll only be paying when they need it. And when your car is parked in the garage, well, you won't be paying for insurance then. Maybe you'll just be using your homeowner's insurance to cover your car. So this could really transform the insurance industry. Again, I made it up, but you can see in this example how social, mobile, big data, and analytics all come together. So we're talking about a new era, as I was alluding to here, of engaging applications. So I want to talk to you about a design pattern. And then I'll give you a quick example of this design pattern. So it's an engaging enterprise design pattern that has three aspects: extend by externalizing and synchronizing, transact with security and scale, and optimize with insights. So let's look through each of these three design points. So on extend, there's a couple of key facets that we have to be aware of. First are your core services, and these are what you want to externalize. You've probably have been working now for years to kind of create services using SOA, and now you want to liberate these services beyond the four walls of your fortress of your enterprise. And APIs are going to help here. APIs are your public services. Now, again, I'm not saying that your APIs aren't created with service-oriented architecture, but there's more than just a nuance of a difference between your core services and your public APIs. Your public APIs are what people are going to see. There's a design and a usability of these APIs that you have to take into consideration. And in essence, they need to be beautiful, no different than using a mobile application and the interface for that. And speaking about apps, this really helps you extend. These things are what actually engage the end user. And as I alluded to in my examples earlier, they need not be just things that run on a phone. They can be something that runs in your car, or heck, it could even be your blood pressure cuff, or your hospital bed, or your bicycle, or anything, again, that engages with you, the end user. Now that you have applications and APIs, you're extending, but how do you keep in touch with these assets? This is where publishing, data synchronization, and notification come in play. You really have to start thinking about things you haven't done before. What sorts of devices are your users using? How do I contact them? What notification network? I need to go through the Apple notification network if they're using an iPhone, for example. Also, synchronizing data. This is an important part of the engagement process. I want to be able to push that data out and do it in a secure and controlled way. Again, I don't want to abuse people's identity, etc. The next part is transact. And this is really what protects and scales your enterprise. Again, you've opened up your enterprise to a new set of engaging applications. You have public APIs that open up new channels to your customers. Now I have to really think about how I secure, control, scale. How do I make my applications resilient? How do I do accounting and identity management of my users? So this is really about how we transact, protect, and scale. And last but not least, really the cherry on top of the engaging enterprise design are insights that drive actions. This is really about optimizing your business. Really here, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So if you're a business leader, your view of insights, which will drive actions. For example, you might be interested in the number of bananas put in someone's shopping cart, and using that to generate stock and predicting stock of your produce, for example. If you're an sysadmin or developer, you're going to be interested in things like the number of transactions per second, or the latency of your interactions, and you may want to use automation and virtualization to instantly provision your system around that. And of course, if you're a developer, external developer, you might be interested in, hey, why isn't this application working? I need some insights. Maybe my security token has expired. Help me out with that. So insights to actions really allows you to optimize. Use that tactical data that you have by engaging to optimize. All right, so now that we've looked at the design, let's walk through a quick example here. And this is going to show some of our capabilities to work against the engaging enterprise design. And here I introduced the Acme Airlines enterprise. And Clara over here is a business leader for Acme Airlines, and she wants to do two pretty important, but when you think about it, basic things. She just wants to drive more transactions to her enterprise, and she wants to use mobile and social technologies to do this. And using those same technologies, she wants to increase customer satisfaction. So in this example, she calls James, and James is a developer at Acme, and they come up with this checklist. And the checklist is they want to create a set of external APIs for external developers to use. They want to extend their existing mobile application and make it more engaging. They want to transact securely and elastically. And they want to optimize using business rules. And if you notice here, extend, transact, and optimize. That's the engaging enterprise design. So they're going to start with services to externalize. So working together, they've decided to, as an airlines, to create APIs for price quotes and to book and to rebook flights. And they believe this is going to hit that first goal of driving more transactions, or certainly making it easier to drive more transactions. Then, for improving customer satisfaction, they want to provide services for tracking bags and subscribing to offers and flight delays. All right, so to extend, they're going to create the APIs using the new Cast Iron Live Web API service. And they're going to use this service to create, document, assemble, and publish their APIs. All right, so let me just show you some screenshots of Cast Iron Live. This is how an API is created. This is the Track Baggage API. And notice here, it's as simple as defining a web resource or a URL. And there's /trackbags. You can see similar for price quote and bookings. You can do that all on Cast Iron Live. You can get a little bit more involved and actually define the get, post, put, delete actions around your REST interfaces. Now document, this is really important. How do people use your API? So you can provide documentation and samples. This is a really interesting part. What you can do is you can assemble. This actually makes your interface come alive by mapping your inputs to your outputs. So for example, I want to connect my API that's running in the Cast Iron Cloud through a secure cloud connector. Think about it like a VPN back to my enterprise. And that enterprise might be running a core service. That's a web service. So this is the mapping tool that you're looking at. Again, this is all running in Cast Iron Live. And last, I want to publish, right? And Cast Iron Live lets you create a splash page where people land, and also entries in a catalog where people could explore your APIs, find them, discover them, and actually try them out. Okay, so that's extend using APIs. Check. Now we're going to take our existing mobile application, which happens to be a web-oriented mobile application. We're going to make it into a hybrid application, which is going to make it more quote-unquote engaging. So what I'm going to quickly show you here is how to make it hybrid, how to do notifications, and how to deliver content to the actual device and do it and put it in an encrypted store. And why hybrid? That's the first point. Well, hybrid really gives you the best of both worlds. It allows the application to be put in an app store where it can be socialized. People could rate it and rank it. But it also serves the application from the enterprise where it can be controlled and secured. To create the hybrid app, we're going to use our new WorkLight product. And I'm not going to go into detail here, but Worklight has a lot of interesting capabilities. And this is Worklight Studio. In Worklight Studio, you can create applications in this hybrid format. And what you're looking at here is a directory structure. And notice the directory structure, it's very organized. The Acme Airline app, you can click off the versions that you want to support, and it will create folders for those versions where the overrides, any code specific to those platforms can be put. And here you can place all your common code. And if you want to purely use common code, it could all reside there. And HTML5 is used. JavaScript, CSS is a primary programming model for building a hybrid application with Worklight. Now for some interesting connectivity here. We're going to drive a notification. And here's a simple piece of JavaScript that will drive that notification. Now this is interesting because when you think about the population of people using this Acme Airlines notification feature, they can be running on any phone. But when they use the application, Worklight has a capability to register them and also register the device. And it knows that if you're on an Apple iPhone, it should use the Apple notification service to get you there. So that's something your code doesn't have to do. It just sends a notification to the user, and Worklight server will figure out where that notification should be delivered to get to where it needs to get. It's a very powerful feature. Writing to the cache. Again, the Worklight server also enables you to push content. For example, you can use something like an MQTT to actually push content to a device, a client device running Worklight, and we can use simple line of JavaScript like this to actually write to the device. Right? So this is really an important part of being engaging, to take content and securely move it outside the enterprise onto someone's, and we'll see later how we can protect that information out there. But for now, we've extended the mobile application. It's now hybrid. It is now doing notifications and also sending content down to the phone in a secure way. And speaking about security, let me tell you about some of the security features that Worklight has around connectivity. So the first thing is when you start an application, as you can see in this illustration here, all applications that are registered through the Worklight server phone home and send a message, and basically it's decided based on some criteria whether that application should be allowed to run. You're looking at the Worklight console, and Worklight console is where a lot of this is actually enforced and controlled. So from a single place, you can control all versions of your installed application. So I'll take a closer look here. The green dots are the active versions. You can see I have an active version for iPhone and Android, version 1.1. And notice 1.0, the older version, let's say the iPhone version, is disabled. And when you disable it, if someone tries to access it, they'll get a notification like this, right? And that was part of that startup message, that exchange that happens. So again, giving you the control you need to transact securely. Now remember we stored content on the phone in the encrypted store. So I want to take you through what happens there. Now, if for whatever reason your phone is compromised, what we can do is we can send, just like you saw before, you can disable the phone. And on disable phone event, we could send an event back to the phone that says clear the local cache, clear the encrypted store. And again, it's just going to clear the data for that application or for the set of applications that are managed under Worklight. So it'll wipe all of the information from the encrypted store because, again, perhaps it's detecting that the application has somehow lost its integrity. But it will allow you to do things like keep the photos on the phone. It won't wipe all the content of your phone, but just the part that's living in the encrypted store. So now we're transacting securely. So the story goes on, And this is Rachel, and she's remembering back at storm season what it did to the airlines. And there was lots of burstiness, people trying to get in there and rebook travel, and it led to a lot of spikes and unpredictable performance. So what she's using here is pure application systems and a custom pattern that she's built off of the web app pattern. And you'll notice here that she has her mobile server running. She has a set of servers that are running some of their REST interfaces, that are implementing the REST interfaces. They have some policies that are using MQTT. They have some data power oriented routing policies. And then here is a decision server. We'll see that running in a second. So Rachel is now using a pattern-based deployment. This allows her to deploy and redeploy, again, without errors, right, in a very repeatable way, the infrastructure that drives the Acme airline. As important, I mentioned some policies. What you're looking here is a scaling policy. And this really helps Rachel manage scale elastically. And for example, what you can do is based on CPU. If the CPU goes out of this range, we can start to add servers up to 10. It'll start with 1 and it'll increment up to 10 if the CPU on those servers start to get above 80%. The other thing we can do is we can enable caching. And this is something we've done now across our connectivity portfolio using our extreme scale technology. With a single click of the button there, this pattern implements HTTP session caching. So for example, in this example, Rachel was noticing that customer profiles that were being used in the mobile application were actually being stored on back-end systems. And a lot of time was spent and latency was lost going to those back-end systems. And by caching those sessions, you now really can improve latency and ultimately improve scale. So Rachel is using Pure App System and some patterns built around that. We've been doing a lot of work, MQ, many of our connectivity products and portfolio across the board, we are using these patterns of expertise to manage and deploy them. So now, transacting elastically. Last but not least, we want to optimize with business rules. And again, as I said, this is one of the real benefits of the engaging enterprise design. So we're going to use the WebSphere Operational Decision Management tool, which is based on our iLog technology. And what Rachel and James are going to do is they're going to associate rules to APIs. Very powerful. So this allows the business to actually change properties and modify and manipulate behavior of rules in real time, and also allow them, hopefully, to dynamically react to business situations. So in this case, this is a decision table that maps API discounts to volumes. So the thought here is as volumes go up, the business will become more generous. And if you're a basic user, we will give you a 5% discount. If you're a premier user, we'll give you a 10% discount as volumes go up. The other thing we'll do is we will, based on incidents, so if a flight is delayed, we will dynamically give you rewards. So if your flight is delayed and you're a gold customer, we'll give you a notification that your flight is delayed, but we will also add a lounge pass. And again, these dynamic rules allow the business user, Clara in this case, to really react and modify the behavior without actually changing the code of the application. So it gives a lot of business dials and knobs to turn to optimize their business on the fly and react to situations without actually having to be there. All right, so now we're optimizing using business rules. And we've actually completed our checklist. So the way the story goes, after 6 months, the ecosystem has grown greatly. Transaction volumes are up and customer satisfaction is up because of the generous offers, also because of the new APIs allowing third parties to write applications against those services. And this notion of continuous optimization, Rachel's job isn't done. And you're looking at the Cast Iron Live Web API analytics. And this actually allows Rachel to look at the usage patterns of the system, of these APIs. You can see price quotes, et cetera, et cetera. She can even look at what operating system that they're coming from. And Rachel can use this information to dynamically optimize the environment, perhaps by adjusting the rules. But she can also talk to James, and there may be some insights that she gets which encourages them to add new features to the engaging mobile application. Okay? So this is the example, and now you can see Acme Airlines is now an engaging enterprise. Okay, so what do we see here? I want to take the engaging enterprise example and map it to some capabilities. So first you saw extending, and this is really extending connectivity beyond the firewall. We saw mobile application delivery and management. We saw mobile data synchronization and push notification. We saw cloud integration and API services. And that's really that first part about extending beyond the borders of your enterprise. The next is transact, securely and elastically. In the demo, we saw authentication, authorization, and access control for mobile applications. We saw elastic data scale of personalized data. We saw workload optimized systems for a fairly complex pattern for repeatable and scalable deployments. And last but not least, we saw Acme Airlines create a new business model. They're getting now transactions driven from third parties around their API economy. So this is new revenue coming into the bank. They're also using rules and insights to continually optimize their business. And just to summarize the capabilities, mapped to products here, we saw the API services and cloud integration of Cast Iron Live, mobile push notification services coming from Worklight, mobile data synchronization with MQTT, transact securing elastically, data power, AAA, OAuth, Worklight server, elastic data caching with WebSphere Extreme Scale, and we have support in that for Message Broker and Data Power. Integration patterns with Pure App System. We saw WebSphere Operational Decision Management with business rules and events and business analytics from Cast Iron Live. We're also doing some work that you'll hear about later around predictive enterprise. All right. Now, let's take a topological look. And this is a really interesting view of how our connectivity and integration business has matured, especially in face of an engaging enterprise. Well, let's start back here. If you're, I've talked in years past about some key edges. So there's the edge of the database here. There's the edge of the enterprise, and there's edge of the customer out here. Right? So these are all important connectivity edges. Master data management integration, caching, elastic data grid, big part of it. You saw big data and analytics coming from social feeds, coming from trading partners, doing B2B integration, right, through the DMZ out to the internet, kind of back-end integration for various scenarios. A lot of focus there. Around the enterprise, private cloud, doing things around pattern-based deployments, making sure that infrastructure is, well, let's put it this way, no business is about their infrastructure. Infrastructure serves a purpose, and with private cloud capability, people can spend less time on their infrastructure and more time on the purpose that infrastructure is there for. So we have data power at our DMZs, managing to our APIs. We have cloud integration. We talked about mobile. We talked about mobile being more than just about mobile devices, Internet of Things, and creating new API communities around your public presence. All right, so a lot going on in the connectivity space. So today you're going to be hearing more about some of these capabilities all around our connectivity portfolio. So Before I pass it on to some of the other speakers today, I want to just look at some of the breakthroughs enabling the engaging enterprise. Now, there are many breakthroughs, but I wanted to pick on 3 of them in each of these categories, because each of these kind of transform the way we conventionally think about some of these topics. So, what can you do if you can send messages from a device reliably without running down your battery and congesting the network? Well, we've done a couple things. First of all, the technology behind this is called MQ Telemetry Transport, or MQTT, and it's a lightweight pub/sub message for remote data acquisition. It's designed for small devices and low bandwidth, poor quality networks. It has a small footprint, and it is built-in support for loss of contact over spotty networks and asynchronous push notification. Now, you saw this in the engaging enterprise example. We have a real example with St. Jude Medical, and they're monitoring over 120,000 pacemakers remotely. And it immediately notifies about abnormalities, eliminates the actually in-hospital visits, and it works over on, let's say, flaky networks. And again, you can imagine its battery power optimizations also play a big role here. This is using our MQTT software. It's part of our universal messaging solution that you'll be hearing about later. MQTT is also a wire protocol that we've published. And Facebook Messenger for mobile is actually using that published protocol. They're not using our software, but they're using the wire definition. And this is a testimonial to, I think, the breakthrough of this capability. All right, so the second example, second breakthrough, is what could you do if you can increase persistent message rates from 250,000 to 1 million messages per second? Well, this is what we would do. And we just recently showed this to a car company in Dearborn. And this is our internet scale messaging appliance. And it's a prototype right now. And in this example, we're going to be using this messaging appliance. Now, you can imagine the number of messages that can be generated from cars these days. And talking to these auto companies, boy, they are instrumenting everything from seat belts to they're doing blood pressure monitoring, steering wheels, they're doing perspiration, of course, all of the sensors from anti-lock brakes, et cetera, et cetera. So you got cars driving in the roads, and you got thousands, if not millions, of messages being generated. So now it's like kind of making sense of this is like finding needles in haystacks. So as these blue cars and red cars are driving around, the red car is going to brake, it's going to slip, and what's going to happen is perhaps maybe enough of these are happening that the internet scale messaging appliance, based on some business rules around these events, is going to start to trigger synthetic events around slippery road possibilities. And if they persist enough, it's going to detect a location, and project an area or a polygon, in this case a circle, around the location, and actually create a message topic about this potential slippery road zone. It will also then subscribe all cars in the area to that zone, such that if any car were to enter the zone, right, since they're subscribed to it, now they're going to get a message to alert them. So that's the way this works. So using this messaging pub/sub protocol around our internet scale messaging, we can do this at scales of 1 million messages per second. So the next thing is, what can you do if you knew at any moment exactly how much revenue each of your services produced, and how to provide tighter controls over the risky ones? So in this last demonstration, there's a new technology that we're working on called SOA Insights. And really it lets you describe the business value of your services and use that description, play it back so that you can see what can be accomplished. Basically, define your goals and look at how you're approaching those goals. Again, this is a way for you to fine-tune your business as you go along. Again, SOA is more than just about hygiene. It's about business now. And with the SOA Insight tool, you can actually optimize your business and around discrete factors. So for example, in this case, Jim is an IT manager. Now Jim can explain to the CFO what the SOAs were to his business. And you can see here, common services like open account, the running cost, the total revenue, right, insurance quotes, how much the quotes are costing, how much the revenue. This doesn't look good. You got to get the cost down of insurance quotes. Why is it so expensive? Loan services, stock quotes, etc. Totaled out, transaction value per month. You can look at that month to month. You can do an impact analysis of the various services, right? Open account relating to the credit check service, insurance quotes, service AAA, etc. You can also see what services they have, where they're coming from, how they relate. So you can start breaking down to see revenue by service type, mobile service, web service, internal accounting, other, etc. Right? So I think we are the first company to really start looking at SOA as more than just hygiene and starting to use analytics to start to put value, business value on services. All right, so in a nutshell, our strategy is around extending. Mobile and cloud are huge. Social and big data make it bigger. It's not about looking at these things one at a time. It's about looking at them together. That's the crux of the engaging enterprise design. Engaging interactions are going to drive a lot of new transactions. So we're looking at protecting and scaling with capabilities that we have from data power, cast iron, and extreme scale, including other technologies around MQTT, pure app system patterns, etc. And real insights shift focus from saving to new business. And I just showed you SOA Insights, and you saw some of the other things around our API analytics, etc. Extend, transact, and optimize isn't just our theme around connectivity integration. It's really looking how we're looking at the entire WebSphere portfolio against these three statements. It kind of summarizes what we're doing around our portfolio. Applications, extending applications, processes, decisions, and services, transacting across our portfolio with integrity, scale, speed, and optimizing business operations and lifecycle, visibility, governance, and collaboration. All right, that's it, and I appreciate your time and attention.